How does that sound to people? Are you ready to jump in and get moving on this? Next slide, please, Rachel. Awesome. Great. Yes. Great. Cool. I love that positive energy coming through. Feeds me. Feeds me. Okay. Exploring personal purpose. Let's dig deeper into the why questions, because everyone talks about this, but they don't often give you tools for actually figuring it out. And also, we get so busy, we don't give ourselves the gift of the time to do it either. So this is where we explore the creation of your personal purpose and the motivations and values behind it. And these are the kinds of questions we're going to be exploring in this exercise. So what do you have a burning passion to generate in this world? What invokes that fire in your belly? Why is it that you are using your precious life energy doing this work? I love these questions. Why is it that you're using your precious life energy to do this work, to give up time with that you could be spending with your loved ones to do this work? Why are you doing that? So next slide, thanks, Rach. This is what we're going to be exploring. So grab your pens and paper. Go back one, Rach.
This one?
Yes, that's right. There should be a sort of a strange looking shape on the page in front of you. And this is your opportunity to please grab a piece of paper and draw this shape on it. Make it as large as you can on the piece of paper, because we're going to be writing in these spaces. This is an intuitive right brain exercise that we're going to be doing now. It's a trumpet, yeah. Yep. It could be a slice of pizza as well. People might have other ideas. Okay, and just a reminder before we get started about that, there is no right or wrong way to do this. Try not to think too hard about the answers as we go through this exercise. Some of you may find this really difficult, particularly if you're a strong left brain thinker like Jo, my business partner. When we first started doing these kinds of exercises, she found it really hard. Your left and right brain is just like any muscle, you need to practice using them. So just trust with it, trust in the process, and whatever comes up is fine. There is no right or wrong way. So the first step is to label the far right column. You might want to put the arrow over the far right column there, Rach. And at the top there, write just outside the shape and at the top, how I want to be seen in the world. Write that on your piece of paper. Can you just put your asterisk over where that is, Rach?
Yeah, it is actually. Just when I press on it, it's already open.
Cool. Yeah. Gotcha. Yep, just outside the square at the top. Yep, good. How I want to be seen in the world. And then list everything that comes to mind when you think of how you want to be seen in the world in that far right-hand column.
I'm doing mine A4, Alicia. I don't know if that's useful for you, but you should be able to fit it into any size, really. Depends on how much you want to write.
No right or wrong way. Go with what happens, what you've got at hand. So you're listing everything that comes to mind when you think of the question, how you want to be seen, think of the phrase, how you want to be seen in the world. You're chucking that into that far right-hand column without thinking too hard about it. Just whatever words pop out, how you want to be seen in the world. And then when you're done, if you can chuck a done in the chat room, please, just to give us an idea of where you're at. Cool. If you're still working on that, that's absolutely fine, because people take this at different paces. So, but I'll share the next step so those of you that are ready to move on can. Step 2 is to go one column to the left and then label that column how I don't want to be seen in the world, and then list everything that comes to mind when you think of how you don't want to be seen in the world. How you don't want to be seen in the world. Second column from the left. From the right, sorry.
Oh.
And if you're getting done again with that, just this time put finito into the chat room for me, just to give me an idea, finito. But please take the time you need. Remember, it's really hard to carve out this time to do this kind of work, and today you've done it. So there's no rush. Finito-ish. Cool. Can someone just respond to Steph in the chat room, please? Help her out. Okay, so step 3 is to think of a symbol or a metaphor for each of the 2 columns, if one comes to you. Again, there's no right or wrong way. Okay, so this metaphor could be anything, an animal, an object from late nature.
Oh, Janine, sorry, someone, a couple of people have asked, can you repeat that last bit?
Yes, I'll be right with you. One moment. Okay, slight interruption there. Think of a symbol or metaphor for each of the 2 columns if one comes to you. Again, if it doesn't, that's okay. But your metaphor or your symbol could be anything, an animal, an object from nature, an image that just pops into your mind. And if you choose to, you could draw that symbol or metaphor on your piece of paper. Drawing is great for waking up different parts of the brain. Even if you don't think you are good, as they say, at drawing. Okay, so I'm just going to go through that again because it sounds like a couple of people. So the third step 1 was to label the first column on the far right, how I want to be seen in the world, and then list everything in that column. Step 2 was to go 1 column to the left and label it how I don't want to be seen in the world, and then list everything that comes to mind. Step 3, which is where we're at now, is to think of a symbol or a metaphor for each of the 2 columns if one comes to you. So a symbol or a metaphor for how you want to be seen in the world, and one for how you don't want to be seen in the world. It could be an animal, an object from nature, an image. And then share in the chat room. Kaz has already shared it. And it's always good fun to hear people's metaphors. If you want to share, let us know in the chat room. Kazza has put, hers is a unicorn. I imagine that's for how you want to be seen in the world, Kazza. Brave people could hold up their pictures in the video chat. We do that sometimes and it's really fun. We've got sunshine. Oh, that's cool. A star. Oh, lots of cool stuff. Diamonds, a dove. I couldn't draw it if I tried. Well, it always brings a lightness to the workshops when you do draw them. Jo and I always get a real laugh. We've been capturing our metaphors for a few years now, and we've got some bloody funny ones. Sometimes you can't even recognise what they are. I don't want to be seen as a snake. Wow, yep. Some powerful stuff can come up with the metaphors. I have a wave in the ocean with rays coming on. At least that's what it's supposed to be. Cool. A sun and a heart. Cool.
Like
my not want to be seen.
Like
My knot is 3 squares. Okay, interested to hear a few more how I don't want to be seen in the world, but sometimes it can be a little bit harder to share because it does tap into, say, maybe some quite powerful emotions. So there's no compulsory sharing, but if you choose to. Don't want to be seen as a band-aid, want to be seen as helping to conquer. Yeah. My not want is an anchor or a deadwood, a jumbled, messy scribble, having not helped people. I don't want to be a slug. Isn't it powerful? Like when you hear the metaphor, it automatically connects you emotionally to where people are at. It's really cool. Okay, great. Thank you so much for all that that sharing. It's really cool. So the next step, and this can be a little bit tricky, but once you've chosen your symbols, next step is to circle a word in the first column. Listen carefully to this, guys. Circle a word in the first column and one in the second column that are most opposite to each other. This could be quite tricky because many of the words may seem like opposites, but just do your best to choose a pair. So circle a word in the first column and one in the second column that are the most opposite to each other. And then just chuck a done in the chat room again when you're done. Awesome. Okay. Step 4, label the third column in from the right, fear. So you want to write fear at the top of that third column from the right. And again, just listening carefully. Label the third column from the right, fear, and then focus on two words, the two words that you circled, sorry. Focus on the two words that you circled and identify to the best of your ability an underlying fear that you have that is related to these two words. The two words are intended to provide a key to a big underlying fear that you have. So without thinking too hard, try to go with your gut. Focus on those two words you've circled and identify to the best of your ability an underlying fear that you have that is related to these words. And write that in that column. Remember, there's no right or wrong way. It's just whatever comes up is okay. If that feels like that's the fear for you, Debs, then you just write in there what works for you. Yep, sometimes people can feel lost with this. It's absolutely cool. Can you choose an underlying fear that pops up when you look at those two words? As I said at the beginning, this can be quite challenging, and there is no right or wrong answer. It's a process. Okay, and then just let me know finito when you've finished on the fear column. Cool. Okay, so step 5 is to label that final column, the left-hand column, with purpose. A big fear usually covers up the personal purpose of who you are. So you can, an invitation now to just keep reaching into yourself, looking behind the fear that's come up to see what it's covering up, and then write down what comes to mind for you when you think of what personal purpose might be underneath the identified fear, sorry. So a big fear usually covers up the personal purpose of who you are. We hide behind those fears. They stop us. So digging deeper, looking behind that fear to see what it's potentially covering up for you, and writing down what comes to mind for you when you think of what personal purpose might be underneath that identified fear. Again, you don't have to have a finely tuned purpose statement. This is just a process to see what it brings up. It could be words, it could be a sentence. Whatever comes up for you is good. Steph, I'd really encourage you, even if you're stuck coming up with your own, is just to actually write down what's coming up for you on your page and get it out. Because sometimes tapping into this stuff can be really challenging and hard. Cool. So we're labeling that final column on the left a purpose, and writing down what comes to mind for us when we think of what personal purpose might be underneath the identified fear. For some people, this comes like an intuitive flash and they have it straight away. For others, it's really tricky, and others are somewhere in between. So I just want to normalize that for you.
And can I just add, actually, we did quite a lot of this purpose work on the yoga workshop that I went on, and I realised that possibly a lot of my weight behind my purpose was almost coming from what I thought people would be impressed with for my if that was my purpose. So by the end of the workshop, I realised that for now, my purpose is something that's probably quite different to what I thought that it was previously. I was putting a lot of pressure on myself because I thought, well, I'm capable of all of this stuff. But I wasn't being that honest with myself about what I really wanted my purpose to be. So sometimes it's okay if it's more personal and less kind of aggressive, I guess.
Yeah, this is definitely personal purpose. This is at the core of you. You know, why are you here? But the exercise is really just to help you tap into your intuition and see what comes up. The object of this exercise isn't to come out with a 200% certainty on what your purpose is. It's to just tap into your intuition and creativity and see what comes up for you, to get some clarity or confusion, and just, work with that. Yeah, Donna, things like that may come up, but it's really important to keep evolving it, because you need to evolve your business to align with your purpose as you go along as well. So if things are getting out of alignment, that's when you can start to have issues with the direction your business is going in as well. So you want to keep checking in. Joe and I do this exercise a couple of times a year at least, and it evolves all the time. It's a learning exercise. Okay, I think was it Alicia, missed the last step. I'll read it through one more time for Alicia and then we'll move on. Label the final column, the left-hand one, purpose. A big fear often covers up the personal purpose of who you are. So keep looking into yourself. Try to see behind that fear to see what it might be covering up. And then write down what comes to mind for you, Alicia, when you think of what personal purpose might be lying underneath the identified fear. Can you do the next slide, please, Rach?
Yeah.
Cool. So just an opportunity to share how that exercise was for you. The last part, the whole part, whatever. It's just an opportunity there to share. If you're struggling with it, that's okay. Just sit with it. Does the purpose you've come up with make sense to you? Is it appropriate?
Kaz said, is it weird to say my purpose is to create and fear is the fear of success?
Well, what does your inner voice tell you about that, Keza? I personally think it's beautiful, but it's your opinion that really counts. Yeah. Yeah, Michelle's sharing. Yep. How was that for others? And you can be honest. If you found it really difficult and you didn't get much out of it, that's okay. But people are sharing some of their purpose statements and words that came up as well. Yep. Accepting myself, being comfortable. People thinking I'm a fake. Purpose is to be an unashamed influencer. Great. Stuff never works out for me. I'll be unsuccessful and it's out of my control. Yep. And I bet that lots of people, for those of you that are really being brave and sharing your deep fears in there, in the chat room, I think that you'll find there are a lot of people who resonate with these fears as well. And it's important to know you're not alone in this. Isn't it interesting how that fear is often a complete opposite or flip side of that purpose? Cool. Carly says, feels like the exercise allows you to accept the insecurities that we have. Yeah. Cool. Some good learnings coming through there. Okay, great. So this is really important work. There's no rush. Keep sharing in the chat room if it feels useful for you to keep speaking to how that exercise was for you. But now we're going to move on to, now that we've explored that personal purpose and we've tapped into that, we're going to talk about how it applies to your business purpose. Next slide, please, Rach. So your business purpose identifies what your business is and why it exists. It's kind of like your mission statement. The two could potentially be interchangeable. It's important that you and your team, if you have one, understand what your business purpose is. It's also important that the people, including your stakeholders, your clients, or your marketing alliances, or everyone involved in your business, are really committed to the purpose of your work as well, and they get it and they support you in it. So it's really important, therefore, that you can communicate it effectively. So let's take a moment now to connecting the dots between the work we've done on our personal purpose so far and how that relates to your business purpose. So grab your workbook, your printable, or just any piece of paper, and write your version of the purpose of your business on a piece of paper. If you've never done this before, that's fine. If you don't have a business purpose or mission, that's okay. If you do, you might want to have that handy. But for now, you're just writing, based on what we've just done, write your version of the purpose of your business on a piece of paper. If you have a business partner or you happen to be working on this with someone else, each of you should do this separately. So you're answering those questions. Who are we and why do we exist as a business? Who are we as a business and why do we exist as a business? Just let it roll out onto the paper. So I'm just going to mute myself for a minute and let you guys focus on that, getting those words down. And then again, just put done in the chat room as you finish. So that gives me an idea of when to crack into the next part. Okay, if you do happen to be working with someone else, this is where you might share your versions with each other. And if they're in agreement, that's great. But if you need to, if there's anyone in here who has a business partner, actually you could let me in the chat room if that's relevant. You would want to take some time together to work on your purpose and create a single statement for your business purpose. If you've got an existing mission statement for your business, please let me know in the chat room if you do have an existing mission statement. Just chuck a yes in the chat room or a Y. And then think about how it compares to the purpose that you've created just now. Are they in alignment? Are they pretty much exactly the same? If so, that's great. If not, what do you need to do to make it feel like your existing mission, or perhaps your old mission, if you haven't looked at it for a while, is in alignment with the purpose stuff, the purpose of your business as it stands today, what you see the purpose is of your business, why it exists. And then just develop a solution if you need to. Maybe it's another little session aligning those two. If pulling these into a more concise statement, if you go away today with your ideas, that's great. If pulling these into a concise statement is something you find difficult, Kaz is just saying she finds this a bit hard, I would encourage you to get someone to help you. So use someone in the WE network or someone in your local group that you get together with. Draw on someone else for support. Okay, and once the same for those of you who are working on your own, on your business. If your purpose and your mission statement look like they're really well aligned, or you've just created your first one ever, then that's really awesome. You want to celebrate that. This is important work, and this is something that you can use across your branding and your marketing. So you may not have the complete statement now, but you've got a really good beginning that is grounded in the exercise we've just done, which is great. So I would encourage you to set aside a bit of time to keep working on it and to keep evolving it after the workshop, because it is really important that you can communicate this stuff effectively. Next slide, please, Rach. And based on the personal purpose exercise, how do the two relate together? Are they well aligned? Do you feel like you've got a bit of work to do to get them in alignment? Are they both really lighting a fire in your belly, or are there some shifts or changes that need to happen? Is the business really having meaning for you in terms of achieving your personal purpose? And I want to recognize that for lots of you, this will already be, that you will have that alignment, and that's fantastic. But that for some people, especially if you've been in business for a while and you haven't checked in with this stuff, sometimes it can bring some things up that make you realize there's a few changes to be made. Okay, next slide. Thanks, Rach. Great. Steph's just giving us some feedback. I found it easy to identify my purpose in life, but I'm currently struggling to connect what I do in my business to what my purpose is. Yes, I jumped the gun on you there, did I, Steph? Absolutely, Steph. And, feel free to keep talking about that in the Facebook group and sharing that with other people, because I'm sure there'll be some who resonate. Debs has got the opposite problem. Helen's saying, I know it well, but I struggle to articulate it in a way that people who don't know and have an existing understanding will get. Yeah, absolutely, Helen. And again, I would really encourage you to get together with other folk, even particularly the people that you work with in your business, and say, share your version and try to use, and try to just engage with them and find out what they think, and get some support to actually tinker it. Sometimes it's really easy to give other people advice on these things, but it's really hard to do our own. So yes, we can make the slides available. Ali, I'm happy to do that. Yep. Cool. Okay. Now we are going to translate the deeper purpose work we've just been doing into a concrete vision for what you want to achieve in the coming year, 2018. It is coming around fast. So these are your goals and intentions for the year ahead for you to go away and put into action. So we're not setting your business milestones and targets now. We're coming to that in a bit. This is about just pulling together your ideas and that are coming up straight after the exercise we've just done, tapping into that energy. So take another look at the personal purpose you came up with and the business purpose that you've created on the paper in front of you, and all the notes you've made so far. Just have a flick through them. Next slide. Thanks, Rach. And then tapping into or flowing out of all that we've just explored so far today, what are some of your intentions or goals for the future? Let them flow. They don't need to be smart or measurable. We're just letting them out onto the page. They might be really outrageous goals. They might be teeny tiny ones. They might feel ordinary. They might be ridiculous. They might be really challenging. We don't want you to limit yourself at this stage. This is a brainstorming exercise. Let them flow out onto the page. Get all those ideas, intentions and goals for 2018 out onto the page. You can just let them all flow into one big messy page of creativity, or you may like to divide the page into personal and business goals. People all do this differently. Do what works for you. If you're working with a business partner, I'd reflect individually and then share these together afterwards and create a unified set of goals after. Okay, again, I'm going to mute myself and give you guys some quiet time to brainstorm all these goals and intentions. And if you can just type finito into the chat room when you're done. Okay, if you are still spilling words out onto the page, then feel free to keep on doing that. But next slide, thanks, Rach. For those of you that have got everything out onto your page, invitation to circle the goals that have particular meaning or that stand out for you on that page. So again, it's not thinking too hard, it's trying to tap into your gut here. Circle 2 or 3 of those goals that have particular meaning for you, or they're jumping off the page at you as standing out. And then we're going to spend a little bit of time making those measurable. Not all of your goals, but those 2 or 3, you may have more than that. You may have less. We're going to just make those measurable now. So next slide, please, Rach. So take those 2 or 3 goals or targets or ideas or intentions and just try to make them a bit more specific. We're not going to spend too much time on this because we are going to be doing more work on this in your milestones, but it's interesting just to pick out these key ones that jump out and make them a bit more measurable. And you want to keep this piece of paper. And if you want to share any of them in the chat room, you're more than welcome to do that too. Or just even how this exercise is. Did you have trouble picking the ones that stand out? Was your page full of ideas and intentions, or was it feeling a little bit empty? Or was it quite empty, but you were really pleased about that? How was it for you? Oh, Steph, that sounds exciting. Love to hear what you come up with down the track to achieve that. Sounds exciting. If you're still working on your goals and intentions and you'd like a little bit more time, can you please type more into the chat room? Cool, that's all right. Just going to mute myself again for a couple of minutes. Let's do the work while we've got the time, eh? Those of you that are done, I just encourage you to flesh out those intentions or goals, those ones that stood out a little bit more. And if you feel up for it, share them in the chat room. If not, that's okay. We don't want them too fluffy. We've done the fluffy creative bit. Now we're getting out that left brain working and we're making them more specific. Okay, so fantastic work, everyone. It's great to know there are some of you still busy being away there on this. Continue to keep going if you need to, but I am going to keep moving forward just so that we can get through the rest of the materials. And remember, we will send out the slides afterwards, so you can come back to this, and if you feel like you need to just repeat parts of the process, I'd really encourage you to set aside the time to do that, while it's still fresh in your mind. Okay, so some of you have had the time to make those measurable, which is great. Next slide, please, Rach. What we're going to do now is just because you will see me asking in the chat room there's quite a few business goals coming through, and I was wondering about people's personal goals, and that connects in nicely to what we're doing next, because now we've set some goals, and in a minute we're going to come back to setting your business milestones and your strategies for 2018. But before we do that, we are going to put you and your family first, or your relationships first in 2018. Because we've explored purpose and we've pulled out some specific goals, and we've got you in that planning zone. And now we're going to be pulling it into a plan for 2018 that is manageable and realistic, giving everything else that I know you guys are all juggling. And it's also a really high priority for us that you enjoy the journey along the way, that you don't burn out, that you are nurturing yourself along the way, and your relationships. So we want to keep the business building thing fun, and as Rach said at the beginning, as balanced as we possibly can. You do have ups and downs in your business, busy times, quiet times, but we want to get you through the year without a negative impact on your health or your relationships. And we do know that, from experience, that many women who start out in business, interviewed many women on the podcast who have experienced burnout, not just once, but 2 or 3 times. So it's a hard-learnt lesson. So we want to set you up to avoid that. And a great way to do that is, as part of your planning, is to stop now and prioritize important you time and family first before you plan out everything that you're doing in your business, because otherwise there's that risk that the business takes over everything. So grab out your calendars, please, or your planners. You may be using the printable, and let's lock in some dates. Next slide, please, Rach. You may have done this already for the year, which is fantastic. And if you haven't done this already, you can also, again, take some time afterwards to put some, give some energy to this. Or if you're listening into the replay, then I encourage you to hit pause now and actually enter these dates in, because we already know, family birthdays, important anniversaries, your birthday. Plan that in advance and try not to put anything in, if you want to celebrate it or do something special, try not to put in a whole lot of work stuff around it. Let me know in the chat room, actually, if you feel like if you've actually already done this for 2018 too, which would be pretty cool. You also want to enter in important dates relating to the business or your personal family life that are already set. So these are things that you might have already agreed to for 2018, and so forth. And this is the start, really, of your content, your sales, content, and marketing calendar for 2018 as well. It's really useful for you to have all this stuff dialed in nice and early, so that you can take it into consideration when you're planning out your marketing for the year. So we won't be doing that on today's call. We'll touch on it briefly at the end. We don't have time to dig too deep into the content today, but we will touch on it. Cool. So next slide. Thanks, Rach. Donna's wanting to know, is this to be writing into a planner or a calendar? Whatever works for you. There are some resources in the printable that you can use, but everyone does this in their own way. I personally use a big wall planner, and then I put everything into my online calendar, but other people just love a planner. Steph doesn't have a planner yet. That's cool. There's some resources in the printable that Rach put together that are really awesome. Oh, Donna can't find anything in the resources. Okay, that's cool. Maybe I'm mistaken about that. They might have been removed.
So are you talking about the printable, Donna? Because there's a link, if you go right up to the top of the chat room, there's a link in there to the printable. You should be able to grab the printable there.
There should be some calendar pages towards the end of the printable, isn't it, Rach? With some.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I think
they might be monthly. Yeah. So we've actually got a blog post coming out soon with our links to our favorite planners and calendars and things. So people might want to look out for that. But it doesn't matter. Just use what you've got in front of you. Gosh, I used to just do it with a big piece of paper and put January, February, March, April across, and just do work with whatever you've got. But hopefully most of you have got some kind of diary or planner that you can use.
Yeah. So in the printable, there's just the where is it? Let me just bring it up for you guys. Just scroll through to the end. So it's just pages 9 and 10. So there's just an annual schedule. And then there's a monthly
yes.
milestones. Yeah. So you might want, the annual schedule doesn't leave a lot of room for, I think it's a bit more specific, isn't it, Janine?
Yep. You definitely want a wall planner or some other kind of calendar as well. But as I say, just work with what you've got. Cool. Okay, so next slide, please, Rach. So once you've got those important dates dialed in, it's time to think about your bucket list for 2018. So some of that stuff we just came up with in the brainstorm may want to be plugged into here. We're talking about personal and family stuff here. We're going to come back to the business stuff in a minute. These are all the things on the personal front that light a fire in your belly to achieve this year, the stuff that gets you really excited. So if you have ideas or a bucket list of things that you've been meaning to do for ages, or ideas that came up earlier for you on the personal front when we're doing those exercises, this is a time to capture them in your diary. So you don't necessarily have to put the exact day. What I like to do is sometimes I'll set aside a weekend just in advance to know that that's something that's going to be a weekend where I'm doing something on my bucket list, or otherwise I'll even give a certain month a theme. Or you can actually set aside the dates now and plan them in. If you're not quite sure, though, you can write your ideas at the top of the months and just know that in this month of April 2018, I am going to fit in time to do my X, because I've been meaning to do it for bloody ages and I've never prioritized it. So this is the time now, though we haven't got heaps of time live on the call now to do this. You might need to come back to it after. But this is where you are going to plug in these bucket list items: family adventures, personal milestones or goals, time out for you, stuff you've been meaning to do for ages, intentions that have come out of this workshop so far. Okay, next slide, please, Rach. Here's another one we like to throw in is not always possible, but if you do happen to turn into a monster at certain times of the month, or it's just a time where you feel really low energy, plan around that too. I use an app called Clue to track my periods, and whenever I can, I try to plan important business stuff outside of those dates. I know that there's certain times of month where I'm just feeling really low and not wanting to do particularly face-to-face stuff, just going a bit inwards. So that's not always possible to achieve this, but even just being aware that you have your period coming around the same time as a busy event or something happening in your business, it can help you manage it in a more nurturing way. So give yourself permission to be kind about this and just acknowledge that, our bodies and our hormones do affect how we feel and are part of the work that we do. Okay, next slide. Thanks, Rach. Yes, I have got kids in the background. Oh, great. Brandy's using an app called Aunt Flo. Sounds like a similar thing. That's really cool. Yeah. And actually, Kylie, there's a really great Facebook group called Go With The Flow. Go With The Flow on Facebook. Kylie shares some great info in there. It's a support group to help mums and women generally, work through their monthly flow and learn about the impacts on your body and how to stay calm and nurture yourself throughout the month. Cool. So let's keep moving. Quick recap. We've explored your purpose and vision for 2018, apologies. Brainstormed your goals and intentions for the year ahead and dialed in important dates for you and your family. If you haven't managed to dial all those dates in, do please come back, because we need to move on to the milestones now. We are going to start setting your key milestones for 2018, Rach. This is going to give you really clear, will give you much greater clarity about where to focus first. Next slide, please, Rach. This really helps you stop trying to do too much. It's a common problem. Let me know in the chat room if trying to fit too much in really is something that you struggle with. Okay, and these milestones also give you real clarity about where to focus first, and they keep you focused on that question. Excuse me, guys, just for a moment.
Just while Janine's busy, guys, I thought I'd share with you. I used to get quite confused with setting milestones for myself. I don't know if you guys do, and goals. But with WE, what I thought was to really simplify it. I only really had one goal for myself. I had an income goal, and I figured out from that how many members I needed to hit my income goal. And then backwards from there, I split my year into quarters and thought each quarter, what do I need to do in order to, create a space for my members that's really going to work really well and help me achieve that goal. So everything that I did, although I had sort of mini little milestones and achievements in each quarter, like for one quarter I had that I needed to get my sales funnel done, for example, and one quarter was that I had to finish the background systems and getting everything up and running, and one quarter I had to focus on customer experience. It just meant that I was able to break down all of that stuff. I wasn't focusing on all of it all the time. So it really helped me just to have one simple goal instead of having heaps of smaller goals. I found that income goal really helped me to stay focused. So milestones are breaking down the bigger goals to bite-sized pieces. Might wait for Jenny to come back, yeah.
Yep, just bring up the next slide there, Rach. It's a great question. Okay, you need to press the clicker again, Rach, and the other definition will come up. Apologies for this, guys. I'm just having a few kitty issues here. What is a milestone? So it is a significant event or stage in the life, progress, development, or the life of a person, nation, or in our case, a business. So it's a marker that indicates your progress toward a longer-term goal. Next slide, Rach. So we work on this a lot with our clients, and here's what we recommend, and here's what has worked really well for us and our clients in the past when it comes to setting key milestones for your business. And these really help you stay focused and on track with the most important things to be working on in your business. So you may decide to choose something different for your second milestone or your first milestone, but this is what we have found works really well. And we do highly recommend that your first milestone is around income generation. So it's really important to keep focused on making money and setting sales targets, because this is what empowers you to stay in business and to grow your business. So, but it's something that often we avoid. So our first milestone we like to focus in on is income milestone. The second is audience building, because an email list, particularly email list building, is the foundation of a scalable leveraged business. Without an audience, you have no one to sell to. Okay, so you might also flip these two around. Like when we're working with people more in the startup phase, we really encourage them to focus a lot of their energy on the audience building, and then building up that audience first, and so that they have a market, basically a captured and engaged audience to sell to, before they start focusing too much on sales. So it just depends what stage you're at in your business. Next slide, please, Rach. So just to give you a picture of how it all fits together, here's how your milestones fit within the bigger picture of your business. Your purpose and vision sits at the top, and then that drives everything that happens in your business. We've done some work on that today. Your milestones are the key indicators that keep you on track to achieve that purpose, vision, and mission. And then underneath your milestones, you also have strategies. So these are the 2 to 3 key strategies you are going to use to hit each milestone. So what we do and what we focus on is helping our clients keep those strategies limited to 2 to 3 really smart focus strategies that help you avoid overwhelm. Okay, because you get these up on your wall and then you can catch yourself during the day and you can say, is this actually in line? Am I getting myself closer to my milestone? Am I working on the strategies that I said I was going to work on? Or am I getting distracted? Am I chasing the latest bright, shiny object? Is what I'm working on today taking me closer to my milestone or my target that I've set for myself? So that's how it works. Next slide, please, Rach. And we're going to create these now. Okay. Someone's saying that those are exactly their milestones. That's awesome. I love it. So we're just going to touch on SMART milestones and strategies. You may have seen this analogy before. I'm sure many of you have. Your milestones and the strategies that sit beneath them need to be SMART. This means they need to be specific. They need to be measurable, so it's clear what you're aiming for, a number of sales, a dollar amount, etc., a number of new subscribers, and it needs to be achievable at a stretch. We like to say it needs to be achievable given everything else that you are juggling. So it must be within reach, but providing a good level of challenge. We want you to be ambitious about your strategies and your targets. But again, this is different for everybody. Some people like to set their massive big picture targets, shoot for the moon and you'll fall among the stars kind of thing. Other people get really low when they set their targets high and they don't hit them. So you need to get the balance of what works for you. And we often refer to these as intentions because that's what they are. Life changes, things come up, shit happens. So it may also help you to think of goals more as intentions, because you do have to be flexible about your goals. You have to keep checking in with them, and is this milestone, is this target, is this strategy still relevant? Because as you go, you learn stuff and you have to be adaptable and you have to keep improving your targets and your milestones as you go. So your milestone also needs to capture why your target is relevant. That's irrelevant there. Why is it important to hit this milestone? When you are clear on that, it helps you with motivation as well. And of course, you need your goals and your targets and your milestones to be time bound. You need to put a deadline on it to encourage action taking. And it means that you can hold yourself accountable, but also that others, if you're using masterminds or the We Network or whatever way that you're using to get support and accountability, you can put your goals out there and people can support you to hit them. So next slide, please, Rach. Here's an example of a SMART milestone. We usually set ours out 6 months in advance, but you can choose, what works best for you. Some people love a 90-day, but I prefer to have the bigger picture milestone a bit further out. Some people like 12 months. So here's a vague income milestone, for example. I will start paying myself from my business. Hands up those, or in the chat room, literally hands up, who may have said, who maybe that sentence is going through your head a lot or has in the past in your mind. We want to take that sentence and make it more specific because it's a bit vague. By June 31st, 2018, I will make 50 sales of my X product and start paying myself $500 per week from my business. This will ensure I'm valuing my time and will mean I can quit my part-time job and spend more time with my kids. The difference between those two milestones is, pretty obvious, right? The second one is much more motivating. It's much more specific. If I was coaching you, I would be able to clearly measure, how far you've got towards that goal. And if this is going to be different for everyone. It might be 200 a week for you. It might be 1,000 a week, whatever it looks like. But that statement at the end, this will ensure I'm valuing my time and will mean I can quit my part-time job and spend more time with my kids. That is the relevant part of SMART. That taps you back into the why. This taps you back into the purpose. And isn't it so much more motivating to be reminded every time that you read that's why, that's what you're going to achieve when you hit that milestone. That's what it's going to do for you. So that is a good example. Another example, please, Rach, just click through. Yep, Rosalind is still waiting to be able to achieve that. Awesome, Rosalind. And, 2018 is going to be your year, right? Okay, here's a real life example from a client we worked with quite a while ago now, but to launch and generate revenue from an ebook, this will be an additional online revenue stream. So that was her initial milestone. So straight away, if you apply the SMART analogy, you can see that it needs a bit of work. So this is what it ended up at. By June 2017, I will have launched my ebook for sale on my website, and by October 31st, I will have sold X number of copies and generated X in revenue. This revenue will mean I can pay myself, which she was incredibly excited about. So that is a really great example of a SMART goal. Another click through, Rach, please. So those are a couple of income ones. This is an audience building milestone. I will grow my email list to 1,000 engaged ideal clients by June 2018. This will mean I have an audience to co-create and test my product or service with so that I can earn my first 2K and prove to myself that my business idea is viable. Again, that statement at the end is pretty compelling, isn't it? Otherwise, if it just said, I will grow my email list to 1,000 engaged ideal clients by June 2018, who cares? So what? That makes it compelling. Cool. Next slide, please, Rach. Cool. So it's your turn. This is an invitation, and we are going to take the time again to work on this on the call. We're getting quite close to the end of the call, so I'm happy to stick around a little bit longer at the end and give people feedback as well and help you work through your milestones and strategies. There may be opportunity also to bring those over to the group or work on them in your local, if you want a bit more, a small group kind of a forum, you could work on them in your local groups, face-to-face groups. You're going to take some time now to reflect on your own milestones for 2018 and create them. Okay, and then you can capture them either on a piece of paper and put them up on your wall or in your downloadable, your printable.
The other thing, Bob, that I always tell people to do that I've started doing is I've started taking them and using that to make my vision board. So, and it's all incorporates the personal stuff, but also the business stuff and the actual milestones and targets that I've set throughout the year too. So I don't have to keep going and looking back at a piece of paper and reminding myself. It's just up there and it's really pretty and I make sure it looks nice. And I find that incredibly motivating to have a beautiful visual up in front of me.
Yeah, it's really cool. So take some time now to reflect on this and create your 2 key milestones for your business. Again, yours might look a bit different. There's a couple of people who are having to leave. Thanks for coming, guys. And as I said earlier, we will send out the replay and the slides. So you will be able to come back to this point and just finish working your way through this last part. Really encourage you to do that and to tap into all the great work you've already done in this hour and a half. So, because we've still got to go to your strategies, so I'm going to have to keep moving things along. I'm going to hit mute and give you guys a chance. There's a couple of sample milestones there. If you've got questions, I'll answer them in the chat room so that other people can get on with creating their milestones. So have a go at creating your 2 key milestones for 2018. Ask questions in the chat room, and Rach and I can both coach you through there. But otherwise, here's some quiet time now to actually get these done, or at least get a start on them.
Hey Debs, I just want to speak to your question there. When picking an audience target to grow by, how do you select this number? Is it a guess? Do you know, I've learned quite a lot about that this year. What I would do is I'd start by going back and measuring and recording what you're at the moment. So for example, with let's say I've got 8,000 people in the members club, and for example, let's say I've got 400 people in the Facebook, 8,000 people in the Facebook group and 400 people in the members club. And let's say I wanted another 400 people in the members club next year, then maybe I would think that, okay, well, from that I need to know that I pretty much need to double the number of people in the Facebook group, for example. So I would base it on what I have done in the past and what sort of growth I can get in terms of numbers and profit and turnover in my business based on the existing audience. So what have I done so far? And then what can I do based on that in the future?
Yeah, that's great advice. And so if you're just starting out though, what we usually do, we have a couple of indicators that we suggest to people. So if you're really just starting out and you think it's going to take you a bit of time to get the systems and things in place to do your email list building, it's great just to set a target to hit your first 100 email subscribers. And we're talking about highly engaged, targeted. So that would be your very initial milestone. But most people, we encourage them to go for at least, go for 500 email subscribers in their first 6 months, and some 1,000. It just depends what your strategies are, what your level of experience is with email list building, with audience building. Some people can hit 1,000. We've had some people in our audience building club hit 1,000 subscribers relatively quickly, and with others it's taken them quite a long time to hit 100 subscribers. So it just depends, because some people, they get the idea of lead magnets and stuff really quick and they hit on a really great lead magnet and the subscribers start rolling in much more effectively. Other people, it takes a while to find that sweet spot between the freebie that you're going to put out there and also how you're going to promote it and get it seen. So I can't give you an exact number, but that gives you a bit of an idea, I hope. Natalia wants to know how you know who's highly engaged. Yeah, great question. So it's basically it's all those stats, Natalia. And I think you know that your Facebook group, for example, is incredibly engaged, right? You know that from your stats. It's the same with email marketing. Who's opening, who's engaging, who's buying when you make an offer, who's clicking through and looking at the resources you're sending through. Those are the kind of things that give you an idea, but also getting on the phone with people occasionally. It's all that stuff that you do to stay engaged with your audience. You want to be noting those things down and looking for patterns, or when you put something, maybe you write a particular blog post and it just goes off. Those are indicators of what your tribe or your audience wants, but also how engaged they are. Steph, we're going to come down to the strategies in a moment. You could definitely break it down to a monthly gross target. So that person might have put, I'll grow my email list. I'll add 100 new subscribers to my email list every month between now and June. And so I have a total of 600 new email subscribers. Absolutely, you could do that. Some people really love that. I'm saying you do what you do, but do what works for you. Same with sales, depending on what your product is, you might want to shoot for monthly sales targets, or if you've got a launch in March, and that you're going to be building up to that launch for 3 months, then you set your sales target based on that. Absolutely, Emma, great question. You should focus on building one audience at a time. It doesn't mean you completely ignore your other ideal client profiles in your audience, like they're still going to be there. But if you can focus in, for the purposes of audience building, focus in on one particular kind of a person at once, it really makes your message more compelling because you've honed it in to appeal to them. And it makes your marketing job much easier, because as soon as you narrow down like that, it's easier to find them. It's easier to talk to them in a compelling language. Everything becomes easier when you narrow it down.
Yeah, the other thing to watch out for too that I see some people doing, and I've made this mistake in the past, is creating a lead magnet that is really popular, but it's not really leading that well into the actual product that I want to sell at the end of it. So it's something quite helpful to do, is to always think of your end product and create your lead magnets around that and test those. So for example, I could do a lead magnet that says, I'll teach you how to create a really highly engaged community in a Facebook group. But then if I'm trying to sell the members club, that won't necessarily, the people that sign up to that Facebook group lead magnet might not necessarily be a highly engaged audience for the members club. So it's better for me to say, come along and test out a free monthly planning workshop or something that we do with the members club, and keep testing those and seeing what different ones resonate with people until I get one that I know flows really nicely into my sale product.
Cool. That's great advice. Can you move slides, Rach? We're going to have to keep moving on, and people are really starting to get into specifics and training around audience building here, which is great because that's what we're talking about. But we're going to keep focused. You're also moving into that strategy space. So let's just get started with the strategies. And because I don't have time to really get into a lot of detail about audience building, but MailerLite is a great one to start with, Anita. MailerLite or MailChimp. We've got a blog post coming up about that in the new year as well. But those are the free, well, no, not free, but the best affordable tools on the market, according to yours truly. MailerLite or MailChimp. Okay, cool. So let's get into it. So hopefully you've made a start on your milestones. we're going to look now at your strategies. So we want to create 2 to 3 strategies that sit underneath each milestone that are going to help you to and support you to hit that milestone. This is answering the question, how am I going to make this milestone happen? So please let me know in the chat room. Say yes if you have a clear milestone already from what we've done, and maybe if you're kind of somewhere in the middle, and no if your milestone is looking pretty wishy-washy still. Yep. Oh, great. Lots of yeses coming through. Booyah.
You guys are
on
on
it. Okay if it's, yeah, getting there, Karen. Awesome. Thank you.
Don't forget on the printable on that annual schedule, there's just a different sort of view of that as well. We've got your milestone goal there. And
awesome.
Then underneath that, we could probably put, if we had more room on each one, we'd probably have strategies underneath each one.
Yes, that would probably be good. Okay, cool. So here's a real life example, next page please, Rach, of someone's milestone and the strategies that sit underneath. Now, I'm not saying that you regurgitate that, but on the same breath, I will say that happened on the workshop the other day with our crew. That one woman was just like, oh, this is exactly what I needed. She just pretty much replicated what we had here. But, it's not one size fits all, but this gives you a really good idea. So the milestone was, I will grow my email list to 1,000 engaged ideal clients by June 2018. This will mean I can have an audience, the same milestone we shared before, sorry. Just tap again, Rach, and the strategies will come up. So these are the strategies that go with this milestone, and they're really focused on getting the biggest bang for your time and money buck, okay? Because most of us are time and money strapped when we're starting out in business, and we really need to be smart about the strategies that we're using. So for this particular person, her first strategy was to get clear on her ideal client. That was really holding her back. So her strategy number 1 was to fine tune her ideas with the help of her mentors so that she had a crystal clear avatar and knew lots more about who they were, what their pains were, how she could help them, and most importantly, where she could find them. Because she didn't know where to, she was being pulled in lots of different directions, and also what their other interests are. So that's something that we work on a lot with all our, probably the majority of our clients. It's something a lot of people struggle with. The second one is getting her list building systems in place with the help of a VA. So she was choosing to invest in a VA for this so that she could start capturing new leads in an automated way. So that included getting her first lead magnet out, her first lead landing page, setting up MailerLite, a welcome email, etc., etc. Those are the actual tasks that she needed to do. And then her third strategy was to choose 2 to 3 low-cost strategies to promote my lead magnet and attract my first 500 subscribers. That's where you could do your monthly goal if you wanted to, or you can bring that into your milestone. So she was looking at tools like Facebook Live, Facebook ads, giveaways. And this is the so that statement. This will enable me to A, attract a constant stream of new leads to my list, and B, start to engage with them on a regular basis so they're ready to buy from me down the track. And she's got in there, once I've decided on my promotion strategies, I'll share them in the Facebook group for feedback and implement. That's in our private coaching group. So you can see there how she's really dialed it down. There's so many hundreds of things you can get on your to-do list, but this is very, very clear, isn't it, about what she needed to do. And then she might tick those off reasonably quickly, or she might take quite a while, depending on her situation, to hit those goals. But the important thing is that if she's looking at this every day, it's really going to keep her on track on what she should be working on in her business. So come on, guys, let's give it a go. How are you feeling? Do you feel resourced now to give this a go for yourself? Let me know in the chat room. Please, next slide, please, Rach. Cool. So for each milestone you've set, choose your 2 to 3 smart strategies for achieving them. And remember to keep really focused on all the possible, out of all the possible things you could do to hit that milestone, which 2 or 3 will have the most impact on reaching your milestone with the least time input from you. You might want to add money input too, the least time and money input from you. Which 2 to 3 would you choose? And you may not know for absolute sure, but give it a go, give it a bash, and see what you come up with. The process itself will help a lot, and we can give you some support in the chat room. And if you've got questions, you're struggling, you don't know, then please ask away. Yes, we can offer help with nailing ideal client, Emma, in our program, but yeah, you can contact me about that if you want to follow up. Great. Steph is having a realization. I think I need to do a lot more brainstorming and data gathering to create my milestones, and then my my strategies. Cool. Okay. I'd like to hear a little bit more about where you've got to there, Steph. I can see you'd need more brainstorming and data to hit your strategies, but I wonder if the milestones, is that because you're not sure what's realistic, or just let me know what's holding you back with the milestones. I'm going to coach in the chat room now so people can have some quiet time to work on this. Okay, how are people going? Can you let me know in the chat room? Are you actually making progress on your strategies, or is it feeling a little bit hard, like you need to go away and then maybe do another session with someone? A bit of that coming through the chat room. Or do you feel like you've actually made some great progress? Anita, if you could reach out to me on Facebook or hello at Get It Done Mum, I can flick you information. I just won't have your contact details or anything. So I'm hello at getitdonemum.com, or Janine at getitdonemum.com, either of those. Lee's started and we'll continue over the weekend. Serena's done. Woohoo, Serena. That's amazing. Congratulate yourselves. Give yourselves a pat on the back. It's so cool. Zoe's making great progress. Yay. This lights me up on the inside. Yay. And also, if you are stuck, that is okay too, because when you resolve working through this stuff really is making progress in huge leaps and bounds. And sometimes that hard work is what you need to do to have a breakthrough, so it can feel really shit for a while. And then you have a breakthrough. So please don't give up. Excuse me. Steph's got lots of to think about. Yeah, awesome. You've got a mess. I've got a feeling you might be a creative right brain like me, Steph.
You guys can always go back with with somebody else and go through the workshop again and do it together and pause in places and give yourselves time and feedback to each other. I really love doing it that way too.
Actually, I did actually suggest that too. I can't remember, sorry, whose name it was a bit earlier on. So if there's anyone in the group right here, right now, who would love to get together with another one or maybe two other people in this group who's here right now, who's already done the workshop, who knows what we've worked through, put your hand up in the chat room, put it out there, because you guys can get together online as well. It doesn't have to be somebody in your local area. You can jump online. So many tools for doing that, and you could actually finish this off with someone else alongside each other. Joe and I live in separate places and we work remotely like that all the time. So put your hand up in the chat room if you'd like someone to buddy up with. Who'd like a buddy? Put it in the chat room. I'm going to move forward now. Oh, sorry.
Michelle's just said, a couple of people have just said that she's feeling stuck. I think I have to sit down and work through the recording again. I just want to acknowledge that that's actually really normal as well, and it's okay. Like sometimes you do something like this and it just doesn't flow for you, and other times you'll come back and maybe your energy will be a bit different and things will start making a bit more sense. But we've gone through a lot of information too.
Yep. And absolutely, it's completely normal for those of you that are going through that. I've been through it myself. Some days it just doesn't flow, or the fact is you haven't thought about it in this way before. And so that is actually really exciting because, as I said, it could be that actually pushing through this quite challenging stuff could lead to some really great insights and ahas for you, and maybe some breakthroughs in the direction of your business. So do stick it out. Do set aside that time. And thank you for your honesty. Also, when you do this work face-to-face with a coach, you can get together in small groups and people can give you direct feedback. What we're doing here is a live group workshop with lots of people. So I think the progress that you've made on the call, just give yourself a pat on the back because you're doing it without direct feedback and support. You're figuring it out, yourselves. It's fantastic. Okay, cool. Next slide. Oh, here we go. I've jumped ahead of myself. So that's what we've done so far. We've made a start on the strategies. We've created your milestones. We've talked about those important dates, and we've done that purpose and vision exercise and brainstormed your goals and intentions for the year ahead. Woohoo! We do have to celebrate these things, okay? We don't stop enough and do that. So well done, and thank you for your time and energy. Next slide, Rach. Now, we're not going to do this today. We've run out of time. But what we normally do is we've got some great resources around putting this into a content calendar for your next year. So what I would encourage you to do is just to focus from here on getting the rest of your, getting your milestones and your strategies dialed. Let's do your very best to get them dialed. We might even, if you wanted to, Rach, you could set up a little space in the membership site rather than the Facebook group where people could come in and maybe debate or share their strategies or just follow up with this workshop.
Yeah,
just so that there's a space.
Yeah, just in the comments of the Plan Your Dream Year workshop, we could do that. And
brilliant.
Anyone who is on the call who isn't in the VIP membership yet, we could perhaps, I don't know, I'll figure something out for that. Maybe we could create a little Facebook group.
Cool. Okay. And I'm happy to come in and give some people support in there as well. But so that would be your focus. But then once you've done that, once you've got your milestones and your strategies dialed, it is a great time to then carry on and plan out your sales and marketing plan for the year to get your content dialed in, and again, be really smart about how you're doing it. Next slide, please, Rach. And so I did just have some really basic tips here to share, but basically going on with what you've done in the past, just doing what we've done today is actually reflecting on what you've done in the past that works well, thinking about what you're going to plan in for 2018, and then coming back and asking yourself that question: how can I be smarter about this? How can I repurpose content? How can I bring in other people or potential partners or alliances who've got great content and use that in my business so that I'm not constantly having to create content all the time myself? How can I automate the content? Those kind of questions, and that's a really good time to do this content work after you've done these big picture milestones and strategy planning activities and got those dialed. But yeah, biggest priority is just to focus in on those milestones and strategies and get them finished and tidied up. Okay, so thank you everyone for coming along and being so open to what we've done in the workshop and participating so fully. It's been such a pleasure to be here. Thanks, Rach, for the opportunity. You're welcome. Have I lost Rachel? Oh, glad you enjoyed it, Emma. Awesome. You're very
Sorry, I was
welcome.
just chatting away there on mute. I just want to say huge thank you. Thank you so much, Janine. Guys, if you've got feedback, you're welcome to write in the comment. We'd love to hear what's been good about it from you guys, what's been useful for you. So please shout out and just let us know, or pop into the Facebook group and tell everyone what you've learned or how useful it was. And if you do have questions or feedback, you can either come into the VIP group and put it in the comments in there underneath the Plan Your Dream Year workshop, or follow up in there. And for those of you who are not in the VIP membership yet, then we might create a space for you, or do that by email. So I'll follow up about that afterwards, and you'll hear from me early next week. Okay, thanks guys.
Awesome. Have a great week. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Bye.
Oh, some great chats coming through there. Thank you. Thanks, Helen. We are quite casual, but it's good to know that we're coming across still as super professional. Super professional, but kind of silly at the same time. Merry Christmas. Thanks, guys. Awesome. Great. Okay, I'm going to sign off. I'll catch up with you after, Rach.
Yep. Okay.